This video is about talking about Pantone colors, why they're important, and how to set your file up with the correct Pantone color. All right, so we have a situation here where we're trying to get a color to be a specific Pantone, and right now it's built in a CMYK color. So real quick, this is a great thing that creative agencies do. They have the colors along with RGB and CMYK colors and even a hex color here. These are all really helpful for relative reference points. At the end of the day, I think most of us know when it comes to color on screens, depending on the device that you're looking at the color is changing. Now, there's not a whole lot you can do on a screen, right? You just have this hex value or this RGB, and it is what it is, right? And people have a good understanding of that. Now, the problem is when it comes to print, the color differences from device to device and even from day to day can be quite vast because we have to deal with ink, machine humidity, temperature, paper, density. So there's a lot of factors in the physical world that make this even more challenging than it is on screens. So for example, when I look at these CMYK values, you might think that I could use this as a color standard. As long as I put 100 for cyan, 66 for magenta, 0 for white, and 76 for black, that will appear on my machine looking like this. That is not the case. This color typically ends up being so dark that this is nearly black, right? Now, if I print on another device, it might look a little lighter, it might look a little bit darker, but the point being is these CMYK values actually don't help us very much at all when it comes to printing, especially if it's a brand color and we really need to hit that color. So CMYK values are a great starting point, and we make decisions based on what looks good overall. In this case, we're trying to hit this color closely. The other reason why we might want to use Pantones is because we need to have more control over the output of the color. For example, if I was to print this sheet on my printing press, when I print that sheet, all these colors will look slightly different than they do on screen, and it's because of all those factors I talked about: heat, temperature, humidity, paper. Now, if I wanted to get the color closer, then what I would have to do is make all of these colors, if these colors are built in CMYK values, then I would have to make a color change that would affect all of these colors all at the same time. So for example, if I wanted to hit this green, and that looks okay right now, and the gray though looks a little bit too blue, I can make a change across the entire sheet where I bring out some of the blue. But what that will do is make this look less green and make it look more yellow, right? So as printers, we're constantly making decisions back and forth on what to prioritize, right? Now, the way to have more control, let's say this green and this gray are both very important to hit pretty much on the money or closer or within range, then you'd want to assign these colors as actual Pantone colors. We call them spot colors in your file. That way, when you assign the color as a PMS429 instead of this CMYK value, I'm able to go into my press and go to this color and print like a test pattern and choose whatever that color is the closest. And I could control this color individually. I can control this color individually, this one as well. Now, we don't do this all the time because this takes us quite a bit of time to do well. It takes between 20 and 40 minutes for each color. That means it'll be more expensive, right? We don't want our presses to be down. That all costs money. So you would only assign these colors as Pantones when they are important to you. Otherwise, we're not going to focus too much on them, and the colors will be a bit different than what's here. So only use this tactic if color is extremely important, or if I need to have more control over color because of difficult printing images. right? So for example, this sheet would be very difficult for me to print and to hit all of these colors, right? So I'd want more control. So that's a quick explanation of spot colors and Pantones and why we don't rely on these to make color decisions. Pantone colors is the best way. And as a final review, if you are choosing Pantone colors, you should not be choosing your colors through software. Your color selection should be through a physical Pantone book. And that's because, again, you can't rely on your screens when it comes to color critical jobs. You want a physical reference. So if you buy one of these here in America and have somebody else buy it in Europe, you'd actually be able to be on somewhat of a same page in terms of color. These colors are very similar between one book to the next. Whereas digitally, this could look very different on an iPhone versus a Mac versus a PC screen, right? So that's how you want to choose Pantones. All right, so that's what Pantones are all about. Now, how do you turn a color into a spot color? Well, you do that through here. So I'm going to focus on getting this color Pantone 289. So how do you do that? There's a couple things. One is you want to have this separations preview open. That allows you to see the colors that are being used in the document. So right now, this document is made using cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. I want to add a spot color, right? So you can get the separations preview window by clicking here. The next thing you need is the actual Pantone. So to go there, you need to go to your swatches panel, which you go to Windows, Swatches, here, and you click on here, and we're going to go to our color books. And here we're going to our Pantone Solid Coated, and we have Pantone Solid Uncoated. These are the two main ones we use as printers on paper. So Pantone Solid, that color book is used for Pantones that are going to be printed onto a coated sheet. So it's glossy or silk. You would use that book to select your color. And again, when I say book, this is the digital book. But again, you would actually want two books here for your design arsenal, right? One book that is for uncoated, right? Actually, this is probably a great example. Yeah. So this would be a great example. You have Amazon, you have a coated and uncoated swatch book. And it's because if you're printing on uncoated paper, you want to choose uncoated swatches, and it does look very different. If it's coated, use the coated swatch book. Okay. All right, so once you have that, you can select your color. In this case, the designer used Pantone 289. Because we're going with a coated sheet, we're going to choose C. Now, ideally, that also means that this really should have been put as a C or a U. Because again, if we looked at the books, Pantone 289C does look different than a Pantone 289U. So in the perfect world, that would be stated here. So there's a real reference. Right now, there's a little bit of wiggle room on what that color could actually be. Okay. So we're going to choose coated. So you go to color books, Pantone Solid Coated, 289, and select that. And you'll see that this color now is up here. All right. So now that I select this letter, you can see that this color, and I'll put them side to side for the tutorial. This is made as a CMYK color. Watch what happens when I select that Pantone color. Boom. So here's one that's CMYK. Here's one that is Pantone. CMYK, Pantone. Okay. And that is how you assign spot colors. Now, because the color is assigned as Pantone 289C, when we export this file, and send this to our printer, we will actually be able to control anything that has this exact word, Pantone 289C, as a spot color. It will print we'll have more control over that color. I can go into that color, and I could even make this blue if I wanted to. That's how much control we end up having on press. Again, it takes time, so don't do this for everything, but for anything really important, I recommend it. So here we have output, overprint preview, but now you see once I put in that color, now that color shows up here, and check this out. You can see if you've assigned your colors correctly by unchecking that eyeball. Right? So very cool. There it is, right? One common mistake that is made is some people will, let's see, this. So we're going to select. Some people do something like this. Let's see if that works. Yeah, some people might have that. So some people might have the CMYK values assigned to the stroke, whereas we actually wanted the inside to be like this. So for example, if we're using separations preview, you can see that, hey, the outline is being assigned as CMYK, whereas the Pantone 289C, what we wanted, was only selected on the inside. So this is a really amazing tool to double check your work. Because for example, if I send this to press, and I print it, this outline blue would be different than the inside blue, because part of the letter is assigned as a Pantone and the other part is CMYK. So those are the couple tricks that I have. Hopefully that helps. The process is very similar in InDesign. But yeah, thanks so much.